The Indiana Fever have waived Jilly Alain after the game yesterday against the Brazil national team. They have officially waived Jilly Alain. For some reason, why is Google Chrome having a new tab? What is going on at my computer right now? I don't know. But anyway, Jilly Alain has been waived, which is not a surprise to anyone.
The Indiana Fever having to make some cuts, and those cuts are happening right now as we speak. I think this probably was two players that many expected to be possibly gone, because I will say this.
Indiana Fever have made a roster cut. Sonia Citron gets her welcome to the league moment by Brittany Griner, and the Golden State Valkyries game last night went...
Yo, you are not gonna believe what just went down with the Indiana Fever. Like, actual shockwaves. They just fired some big names off the roster, and I'm talking players folks thought were safe. Gone. Just like that. And before you think, this is just some boring team shuffle, nah. This is not your average roster move. This is bold. This is strategic. This is Caitlin Clark changing everything without even trying. The way she's already shifting the entire direction of this franchise? Unreal. We're gonna break down why it happened, who's out, who's next, and exactly how the Fever are secretly building something way bigger than anyone realizes. Trust me. What's happening behind the scenes right now? It's setting the stage for a whole new era in Indiana, and it starts today. Let's get into it. All right, so here's what's going down in Indiana. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this feels like the first domino in something way bigger. The Indiana Fever just made their first round of roster cuts, and the names on this list, they're not just camp fillers or practice squad placeholders. These are legit ballers. Players who fans thought were basically locked into the roster. We're talking. All let go as the team trims down ahead of the season. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. These cuts didn't happen randomly during some off day. They dropped right after the first two exhibition games. So what? Does that tell us? The coaching staff saw what they needed to see, and they made their move immediately. No waiting around. No sugarcoating. Just cut. And let's be real. This is not your typical, let's finalize the roster cleanup. This feels calculated. This feels like a reset button was hit on purpose, because these weren't just end-of-bench players. Some of them had real potential. Some were even projected contributors this season. So, when you see this kind of abrupt shift, it means something deeper is happening. Now, if you've been paying attention, you already know the Fever have a brand new face of the franchise in Caitlin Clark. And while nobody's coming out and saying it directly, these cuts, they've got Caitlin's fingerprints all over them. We'll get into why in a minute, but the headline here is simple. The Indiana Fever just sent a loud, clear message. This team is changing, fast. And if you can't keep up, you're out. Man, let's take a second here because this part always stings. What we just saw isn't just a few players getting cut, it's dreams getting shattered in real time. And unless you really follow the WNBA grind, you might not realize just how brutal this league can be. We're talking about a league with 12 teams, that's it. And each of those teams, only 12 roster spots. That means there are just 144 jobs available, total. For comparison, the NBA has 30 teams and over 450 players. In the WNBA, it's a fight, just to survive training camp. So imagine this, you get drafted. You've worked your whole life to get to this moment. Your name gets called, your phone's blowing up, you're crying with your family, you're flying out to camp. You think the dream's finally starting, and then 2 preseason games later, you're called into the office and told it's over. You're not making the team. That's the harsh reality of this league. It's fast, it's unforgiving, and even talented players with real potential, don't make it simply because there isn't enough room. And here's the kicker, it's not always about talent. Sometimes it's just about fit, about timing, about the direction the team's heading. And right now, Indiana's clearly heading in a whole new direction. And that means players who might have been safe just a few weeks ago, suddenly they're out of a job. No bad blood, no drama, just the cold truth. If you don't fit the system, you're gone. And it's heartbreaking because these players aren't scrubs. Aaliyah Moore showed flashes of athleticism and versatility. Christy Wallace had her moments last season. Bentley brought experience and size in the paint. They all fought. They all earned their shot. But the WNBA doesn't wait for anyone, especially not now. Now let's talk about the real elephant in the room. Because let's not pretend this roster shakeup happened in a vacuum. There's one name that's quietly, okay, not so quietly, reshaping everything in Indiana right now, and it's Caitlin Clark. From the second she stepped on the court in a Fever jersey, you could feel it. The energy shifted. the expectations changed. The Fever aren't just trying to build a team anymore, they're trying to build a contender. And the blueprint? It starts with her. Look, this isn't just hype. Caitlin Clark is a generational player. She plays at a different speed. Her vision, her range, her ability to create offense out of thin air, it forces the franchise to think differently. You don't just add her in, you build around her. That's why we're seeing these moves. That's why some players who might have made the roster last year are now gone. Because everything now runs through the Caitlin Clark lens. If you can't keep pace with her tempo, if you can't space the floor or make smart cuts or defend at speed, you're not part of the plan. And the Fever know what they've got. They've got a star who can break down defenses, hit from the logo, draw double teams, and still drop dimes. That's rare. That's special. And that's exactly why Indiana's front office is wasting no time making moves to support her. Let's be real. Caitlin didn't ask for this kind of shakeup, but her presence made it necessary. She's not just a player anymore. She's the centerpiece, the system, the standard. The Fever are making it crystal clear. This is Caitlin Clark's team now, and they're building it to let her run wild. So now that we know Caitlin Clark is the catalyst, let's talk about how exactly that changes the game. Because the Fever aren't just cutting players to make room. They're completely redesigning the way this team plays. This isn't patchwork. This is a full-on blueprint shift. Let's break. You're down. Caitlin Clark's game is built on speed, floor spacing, and high IQ movement. She thrives when she's surrounded by teammates who can run the floor, hit open shots, and rotate fast on both ends. We're talking up-tempo basketball, fast breaks, drive and kick, pulling defenders 30 feet from the basket. So what does that mean for the roster? Simple. If you can't move, you're out. It's not enough to just be solid anymore. You have to fit. That's why we're seeing players like Aaliyah Moore, who has great raw athleticism but struggled with spacing, and consistency suddenly out. Or Bentley, who brings size and strength, but doesn't quite fit into a fast-paced, space-first system. And even Christy Wallace, who was dependable last year, found herself on the wrong side of this shift. The Fever are laser-focused on one thing now, building a team that amplifies Clark's strengths. They want shooters who can spot up in the corners, wings who can guard multiple positions and fly in transition, bigs who don't clog the paint, but instead run the floor and finish at speed. And honestly, it's smart, because if you've got a player like Clark, someone who can see the floor like a quarterback and hit teammates in stride from half court, you build a system that lets her go to work. You give her weapons, you give her space, you give her the green light to be as dangerous as possible every possession. So no, these cuts aren't just about who wasn't good enough. They're about who doesn't fit this new system. A system that's designed to run through Clark's hands every time down the floor. A system that's built to maximize chaos, pace, and precision. And that system, it's already taking shape. Now, while a lot of names were shown the door, let's flip the script for a sec. Because a few players didn't just survive these roster cuts, they stood out. And the one name that's really turning heads right now, Mikayla Timpson. This is exactly the kind of player the Fever are keeping. And once you watch her play next to Caitlin Clark, it's obvious why. She's quick, decisive, and plays with a high motor. But more importantly, she understands movement. She knows where to be and when to be there. And that's gold when you've got Clark running the show. You need players who can read the floor, time their cuts, and finish plays without hesitation. And Timpson checks all those boxes. In the exhibitions, she didn't just put up decent stats, she gelled with Clark. You could see the chemistry right away. She'd slip into space, catch the pass, and boom, easy bucket. That's what this system needs. And it's not just about offense. Timpson's also rotating fast on defense, getting into passing lanes, and recovering when switches happen. She's showing that she can keep up with this high-octane style on both ends of the floor. Now that's the Fever's new prototype. They're not just looking for scorers. They're looking for connectors. Players who can flow with Clark, stretch the defense, and make quick reads in real time. Players who don't freeze when the ball finds them, who move with purpose and don't need 3 dribbles to figure things out. So if you're wondering who's safe in all this, it's players like Timpson. High IQ, high energy, team-first hoopers who elevate the whole system instead of slowing it down. That's the direction Indiana's headed in. All right, so now we've seen who's out, who's in, and what kind of game the Fever are trying to play. But here's where it gets even deeper, because this isn't just a basketball move. This is front office chess, and Indiana's playing it smart. See, the Fever aren't just reacting to what's happening on the court. They're planning for the next 2 to 3 years right now. Caitlin Clark's on a rookie contract, which means these first few seasons are prime time to build a competitive, cap-flexible team around her. And if they mess that up, it's a wasted window. So these cuts, they're not just about fit. They're also about money, mobility, and long-term roster control. You don't want to tie up your books with players who don't fit your future. That's why the Fever are making these moves now, not mid-season. They're clearing the deck early, making space for more targeted pieces, players who either already fit the system or can grow into it without breaking the budget. And let's not forget, building a title-contending roster isn't just about stars. It's about the supporting cast. You want reliable role players, people who do the little things, people who can come off the bench, play 12 hard minutes, and not miss a beat. That's what Indiana is locking in on. They're not going to get caught scrambling mid-season for spare parts. They're building the infrastructure right now so that by year 2 or 3, they're not just hoping for a playoff spot. They're gunning for a championship. It's bold, yeah. It's aggressive. But if you've got a player like Caitlin Clark, that's exactly the kind of urgency you need. The Fever see the big picture, and they're not playing small ball anymore. They're laying the foundation for a WNBA powerhouse, and these early moves, just the first bricks in something a lot bigger. Now here's where it really starts to feel bigger than basketball, because Caitlin Clark, she's not just changing how the Fever play, she's completely reshaping the culture of this franchise. And honestly, the WNBA as a whole is feeling it too. Let's just look at the facts. Preseason games, sold out. We're talking full arenas, standing room only, people paying over $600 for a ticket to see a rookie. That doesn't happen by accident. That's star power. That's movement energy. And it's not just the fans. It's the media. It's the sponsors. It's the buzz. Every time Clark steps on the court, she turns the entire arena into a spectacle. Cameras on her, kids screaming her name, opposing players bringing their A game just to keep up. That's the kind of energy the Fever have never had before. And they know it. This isn't just a team anymore. It's becoming a brand, a destination, a franchise people want to watch, want to be a part of, and yeah, want to beat too. Because when you're the center of attention, you're also the one with the target on your back. And let's be real, the Fever are leaning all the way into that spotlight. They're not hiding it. They're not easing Clark in. They're saying, yup, she's our superstar, and we're building this entire identity around her. It's a total shift in energy. This team used to fly under the radar. Now, they're headlining. From the way they run their offense, to the way they market games, to the way they handle roster decisions, everything is now through the lens of, how does this elevate Caitlin? How does this amplify what she brings? And you know what? That's not pressure, that's opportunity. Because when you've got someone who can not only dominate on the court, but also bring in fans, build hype, and inspire the next generation, you go all in. You build the machine around her and let her drive it. That's exactly what the Fever are doing. So now that the first wave of cuts has hit, and the Fever have made it crystal clear they're going all in on this new era, what happens next? Because trust me, this isn't the end of the shakeup. More moves are coming. Right now, all eyes are on 2 players, Egypt and Jaylen Brown. Both of them have flashed moments of potential during training camp, and they're clearly talented. But here's the truth. Talent alone isn't the deciding factor anymore. Not in Indiana, not in this system. The Fever's coaching staff is watching everything right now. Every scrimmage, every possession, every rotation, and asking one simple question. Can this player elevate Caitlin Clark's game? That's it. That's the new bar. And if the answer is even slightly, that roster spot, it's in danger. So unless Egypt or Brown can prove, like right now, that they can hit open shots, make smart defensive reads, and keep pace in transition, they're on borrowed time. These cuts are happening fast, and the Fever aren't hesitating. But that's just one side of the coin. The other big thing to watch? Additions. Because now that they've opened up these spots, Indiana's looking at the bigger chessboard. They're thinking about free agents, possible trades, maybe even specialist signings, players who can bring exactly what this system needs. Think elite three-point shooters, defensive wings who can guard multiple positions, stretch bigs who run the floor and finish strong in transition. The goal? Build a complete, modern, championship-caliber roster that's ready to run with Clark, not slow her down. And you better believe the front office is also keeping an eye on the salary cap. While doing all of this, they're making sure they don't box themselves in with contracts that kill flexibility down the road. Caitlin Clark is a once-in-a-generation star, but even she needs the right pieces around her to win. So yeah, this is just the beginning. These aren't just cuts. They're a calculated first step in a complete transformation. The Fever are on the hunt, and if you're watching this team evolve in real time, you're witnessing the birth of something big. So here we are. Roster cuts, culture shifts, system changes, and a franchise that just flipped the switch and said, we're done playing small. We're building around greatness now. The Indiana Fever aren't just tweaking a roster, they're building a dynasty. And Caitlin Clark? She's the engine driving the whole thing. Every decision, every move, every headline, it all circles back to her impact. And what we're watching right now, it's not just the start of a new season, it's the start of a new era. So if you've been riding with Caitlin Clark since Iowa, or you're just now realizing the kind of storm she's about to unleash on the WNBA, this is your moment. Type, "We trust in Caitlin" in the comments if you're backing her all the way. Let's flood the section and show the league that this community isn't just watching, we're locked in. Hit that like button if you want more real, no-fluff breakdowns like this one. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because trust me, this fever story, it's just getting started.